Comanche Omnibus, Volume 1. Okay, so Omnibus maybe it's not the word because it's not as thick as a Marvel or DC Omnibus. But French series doesn't really work the same. So, like an introduction, this is a French Western series, and it's not a modern series. It started on 1969, so it works in a different way. American comics from the United States tend to be published monthly on a magazine of about 20 pages, and the size is like about this big. French comics, bande dessinée or whatever they are called, are published on, well, serialized at first on some magazine, but they are mainly published on albums, and these albums are about 46 pages long and tell one whole story on most cases. And it is on the case of this series, Comanche, or Comanche, I think it is in English. So, who is writing? Greg, and who is the artist? Hermann. Hermann is the artist and writer on another series that came after this one that I really liked. And maybe I'll do a video about it someday. It is called The Towers of Bois Maori, something like that. It is excellent. 10 out of 10. This one we'll see. But that's peak Hermann for me. So Hermann and Greg did 10 albums of the series Comanche, and this Omnibus, or Integral in Spanish and Integral, well, I don't know, I don't really know, in French, collects, this first one collects the first 5 albums. It has an introduction where they talk about how this series came to be, how they created some characters, what was the idea with this series, some Tintin covers. It is the magazine where this was serialized at first, and then the 5 albums, and they talk also about each of these 5 albums and the impact they had at the time. And there. What's the interest to read this? For me, it was because I really liked the Towers of Bois Maori, so I wanted more Hermann. And also because, like when you like a Western comic, in my case was Bouncer by Alejandro Jodorowsky and Francois Book. I really liked that comic, Bouncer. It was a Western. And then you search on Google, you Google like best Western comics. And always the answer is the same. Blueberry, the series that draw Jean Giraud, also called Mobius, known as Mobius, the guy who drew the Incal. And I haven't read Blueberry yet. I have it, but I haven't read it yet. But also one of the series that appears like on the top of Western comics is this one, Comanche. Just 10 albums and a lot less wordy compared to Blueberry. But that's it. Like, why you might be interested in reading this because you like westerns, obviously, and it is supposed to be one of the best. It is supposed to be. I don't know if it really is. We'll talk about what I like and what I didn't like about this. Maybe someday I will read Blueberry, and that one always has the number one spot. So I have some interest in it. Okay. This first album, what I really like about it is that you can tell it was serialized because whenever some new chapter begins, it also starts with this big panel on the top of the page. You can count like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages, ends with a narration, starts with narration and one big panel. This is chapter 2. Of course, it is just one album, but this was serialized. So it was like 8 pages, 10, 7. Like you can count here like 8 more pages, another big panel, another 8 pages, another big panel. Well, you get the gist of it. And this works really well for the first album. Why? Because every chapter tells you something. Of course, there's some continuity. But if you are not really with that much time, you can slowly start reading this and getting to know the characters. Like the first chapter is the introduction of this character, the main protagonist, called Red Dust. It shows you like he's a good shooter, and he comes to this town and finds out about this ranch called the 666, like the number of the beast. It has nothing to do with this, but the 666 ranch, and that ranch was inherited by this girl called Comanche, and she has nothing to do with the Comanche Indians. That might be some bothering issue for some people. It is for me, but not because she's not Indian. I will talk about it. But Red Dust is basically like the protagonist. So this character, Red Dust, comes to this ranch and offers his services, like of protection and all that. Because some people is trying to scare Comanche from business. At this point, she's just with this old man, 10 gallons, and again, you get this, like Red Dust riding this wild horse that no one can ride except him, obviously, because he's too cool. Like winning like the affection of these characters, helping this old guy and get his mojo back, basically. Then go to town, they find some trouble. In the end of the album, they discover who is behind all this. There are some new introductions, like the cows come to the ranch, and the guys who were sent to deliver them are a black character called Toby Blackface, or I don't really know how he will be called in English. I know his name in Spanish. And this character, the typical like white, blonde, ugly character with a maybe retard face. He's not a retard, but like the physical aspect is that of a slow person. You got a redhead, a woman, this guy, black guy, old guy, like diversity on a Western comic on 1969. Well, in the end, like they have a lot of troubles. Each chapter, they are pretty short chapters, but since there are a lot of panels per page, a lot of things happen throughout these 46 pages. So again, the art is, for me at least, is pretty standard. You look at this and you say it is a Western comic, not just because there are horses and cowboy clothing, but because of the coloring and the detail. I mean, Hermann can draw really fucking awesome horses and like the nature, but the way he draws like the characters, the faces, the pose, when the coloring is just, you're looking at a Western comic. So you're into that or you're not. If you're not, this will not be heavy reading because the scripts are really good. Like the amount of text, the dialogues are good. So you, even if you're not really that interested, maybe you will be liking this series. In the end, the whole story, is like setting up the characters who will be working on this ranch. Now, this first album, it is a good album. It is a good Western album. It is a good introductory album. But would I recommend this to anyone? Not really. Just if you're planning on reading the series, sure, read the first one. If you are not really planning on reading the series, maybe skip that one. Also, second arc, again, we have a story like divided on chapters, by chapters. The story is basically like these Indians called the Cheyenne. They stole the cows from the ranch, and it is because there are some like diplomatic political aspects to it. They were how do you say this, like well, I lost the word, but the government or a government figure like play dirty with them. Well, it is up to these characters to solve the problem, like then we'll have some conflicts, some fights with the people when they find out that the Cheyenne are responsible of they not getting their meat, and that's basically it. Like it is a Western, so it has some like troubles from the Western and problems that are typical from these kind of narratives, and what makes it like worthwhile is drawings, the paneling, like the dialogue, the scripts, but the themes are, maybe you will find them on some other places, movies, or I don't really know, but I'm guessing it is that way. In the end, the chief of the Cheyenne dies, and he leaves three sons. One is really angry with the white man. One is really uh, is the new chief, and he's a little more diplomatic. And there's another one who joins the Comanche and the 666 ranch. This third brother, he's more neutral. And in the end, we have this, like the whole, well, this drunk guy, and some other guys. They all join in the Comanche ranch. That's it. And like the second album, again, if you like the first one, you will like the second one. It is better than the first one, maybe so. At least the art is. Now this third album is the best album on the whole series, and the fourth album also, and they are like part of a trilogy. Yeah, it is a trilogy. Comanche 3. This story is simple. Yes, it is kind of simple. We have like this band called the Wolves of Wyoming. Well, they are the Dubs. They are family, brothers, you know. What happens on this album is that the Comanche ranch sent some money, some money, and these Dubs guys are trying to steal it. But the guy who was responsible from the money didn't really have it with him, because he sent it with another guy, like this fella who is an alcoholic, and because he thought that maybe he was going to be attacked because of the money, but not the alcoholic guy. We got some new character again. All albums have some new characters. This preacher guy, and this preacher is a really strange, a weird preacher, because doesn't really talk like a preacher, and it's good with guns. And thus, it is one of the points of the album. Like they have some like rivalry between them going on. In the end, it is an album of, and the story is about who can get the money first. The Dubs are violent, and the guys from the 666 are divided by groups of two, and the story follows jumps between everyone. A lot of action, a lot of tension, a lot of philosophical, like themes about killing or not killing a man. Like Red Dust doesn't really want to kill anyone. The preacher, in a funny way, he thinks we better just kill them. The art is better, like a lot better than on the first album. Again, some interesting story. In the end, all the Dubs died except one who escapes, and the preacher also dies. And that's when Red Dust says like, I'm leaving the ranch. I'm going to avenge this man who in the end I became friends with. And like because the preacher said to Red Dust, like, if you're not killing Dubs, then he's killing a lot of people. Every time he encounters someone, he steals, he kills, and maybe if you don't kill him and you have the chance, then you're also responsible, like Batman not killing the Joker is something like that. But since this is a Western and the morals are different, Red Dust goes on a manhunt in the end, leaves the ranch, wants to honor this preacher guy. The fourth album, it is that, exactly that. Like we met the guys from the ranch and they got a letter and they start reading this letter, and this letter is basically like a Red Dust telling them what happened if he did get and got to catch this Red Dub's character again. The drawings are excellent, like pretty naturalistic style, like realistic on the buildings, the construction, the nature aspect of it, the animals. Not really the persons, but look at that, mountains and the night sky. Again, we got some new characters, and this album is pretty much a manhunt. It is basically that, a manhunt, and it is a pretty good one. Because a lot of tension, you start reading it and you can't really stop because it grabs you. It really does. There's some Mormon characters. It is for being like 46 pages stories, they are pretty long, like pretty fleshed out, at least for me. Like a lot happens on these pages. They go from place to place. Some characters die, other lives. Red Dust suffers a lot on this album, like, and that's some of the points that are talked about on the introduction. Like, at the time, this hero was not perfect. Not everything came out right at the end for him. He got pretty beat up, almost killed, like you can see here. And in the end of this album, Red Dust catches his Red Dubs. And what does he do? What does he do? They should be fighting with a duel. But Dubs has no gun in the end, and Red Dust remembers everything that has happened, every person who has died, and he just kills this character. Here out on the dirt, on the garbage, because and this is Hermann. This guy is garbage, and he deserves this. But it is not how the law works. So Red Dust gets imprisoned. And that's the end of album 4. Again, they are self-contained, like you can read 4 if you didn't read album 3. You can read 3 without reading the 2. You just have to know like the basic premise. There's this ranch, there's these characters, there's Red Dust, and and always on the first page you get like the gist of it, like the status quo at the beginning. And they tell full stories. So again, if you are not really planning on reading Comanche, then I recommend to read the third and fourth album. They are really good. They are not great, they are not excellent, they are not masterpiece, for me at least, or they are not like things I want to read and read and read again, because there's this is like an important series. In this series was giving steps for future a reference, from other series. So in context, maybe they were like pretty great, pretty awesome. Now they keep being good comics, but maybe you can live without reading them. That's what I'm trying to say, I think. But still, if you don't really want to read the whole Comanche, 3 and 4 are pretty good. The fifth album, I will not be talking really talking about this one so much because it's good, but it's just that, like another good album, but not like the third and the fourth one. This album is pretty much like Red Dust in prison in the beginning, but just on the second page, he is he's free now. He's a free man again after like 20 months. Like these albums, they are published like one per year. So they tend to do some time skips between them on the story. Like the characters age when like the publication and dates. They tend to age at the same time. So Red Dust returns, but he can't use weapons, and the range is bigger. Everything is different. Red Dust is like, I don't really know this place anymore. He feels a little weird, a little depressed. Like because he can use dance and all that. Well, in the end, it is him. This album is him returning to this place, trying to find himself. Maybe like there's some band that attacks, and the city, and here's some sheriff like gives Dust a star. So again, these drawings, the coloring, and good action, good dirty action. You feel the rain, the dirt. Hermann is pretty good at that. And in the end, like here's Dust with the star of sheriff from the moment, so he can use weapons to help save the city. And they do it in the end. The end is not really happy because the series like goes some talks about the violence and all that. But again, it is a nice album. It's just I didn't really feel it like at the level of the third and fourth. And then we have this extra story called Palomino. Palomino is the horse of Red Dust horse. And it is the story of how 10 Gallons, the old guy, acquired this horse. And just days before Red Dust coming to the ranch. It is printed, I think my phone doesn't really capture, but the quality of printing is pretty bad on this short story. The albums, the quality of printing on the albums is pretty good. you know. But um, the last story is it's weird. It's not good. It looks better on my phone, but it's not good. Again, Herman just keeps getting better and better at drawing these characters, this style, and the coloring. It is also changing. I don't know if he colors himself. I think not, but the coloring is also getting better. That's good about it. Again, the one thing, and I think this will not be like solved. What I don't like about this is the title, Comanche. Why? Because when you read Comanche and you think you will be reading about the Indians, or they will be important on this, they are not. They are not. There are no Comanches on this story. Then you know there's a character called Comanche. And I don't know, I feel like Red Dust steals all the protagonism on all 5 albums basically, and it is especially it really happens on the 4th one, you know, and where he is manhunting the last of the Dubs. You see Toby, you see Clem, you see Comanche just here on the 2 first pages. The rest is Red Dust. And that's basically it with this series. It should be called, you know, Red Dust or another title, because Comanche and the guys from the 666, you know, sure they appear, but I never really get to connect with them because they doesn't really appear that much. And that's a little disappointing, you know, from a title perspective, like when one hypes himself and when reading a story, like what do I expect from it just from the title and from this synopsis. Like the synopsis is that like this girl called Comanche inherits this ranch, and there's not really a lot of that. No, there's a lot of red dust. So, you know, it is my complaint. Maybe if someone is not really bothered by that, but I feel like a little disappointing about. I guess the Blueberry, like the Blueberry Lieutenant Blueberry comics, Blueberry is the protagonist. Like you read the series is called Blueberry, so maybe he will be of course he will be appearing on every single album. And this is called Comanche, and basically what happens to Red Dust, because he does everything basically, or almost everything. Well, there it is, my complaint. But besides that, they are really good comics. Are my favorite comics? Maybe not, but I do recommend them if you're interested on like what I have told about them. If you liked the drawings, you know, what you see here is what you get. They are good comics. I do recommend them, but you have to be the person. You have to be interested on reading a Western, and because it is a Western, it's not like a postmodern Western, like trying to laugh at the Westerns or be like a satire of. No, it is a Western. So you have to be like that. But if you're not really interested in Westerns, again, the third and the fourth album, you start them and they grab you and they hold you till the end of them because they are really good stories about manhunts and with a lot of tension and cool dialogue. And that's it. And for the next video, Comanche Omnibus 2, that ends the series. The series made by Greg and Hermann, because there are some more albums of Comanche made by Greg, but with another artist. Why? Because that albums were published a lot of years after, on the 90s, because Greg was returning to comics in that period of time, and he returned to write Comanche. Herman was his own beast at that time. And that's it. I just have access to the first two omnibuses, that collects and the original 10 albums made by Greg and Herman. So we are at the middle of it. Let's see how the last 5 albums